We are recording. Hi, everybody. This is David P. France, and I'm coming to you live from Basel, Switzerland. Before we get started, I would like you guys to share the videos, subscribe to the YouTube and BitChute channels, and let people know what we're up to. We are interviewing creators and creatives, artists, dancers, writers, producers, thought leaders, inventors, small business owners, entrepreneurs. We're hitting what I believe is a sweet spot during this particular time that we're living in. The people that we interview are very, very important, and I felt like I would like to do more and create a platform. So that's the reason why we have been up and running since, I don't know how many months. Well, anyway, Christine, how are you?
Hi, David. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Christine Ceconello, right, as I'm pronouncing it correctly. Christine is the dancer and choreographer, and you're based in Germany right now?
Yes, based in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, Christine and I worked together a couple of years ago. It seemed like multi-years ago, but we can go into that later. Tell everybody what you're up to and why we, in a text message moment, decided to do this interview. I know you have a series of interviews in media that you are doing now, but tell the audience, what you're up to.
So, well, like David said, I'm a dancer and choreographer, and recently, because of this lockdown, I decided to create an online performance. Well, just to give a little bit of the background story, I'm Brazilian, and I'm still very connected to the Brazilian artist side. You know, all the people that are there working. I'm always trying to go there and teach, choreograph, do my work, share. You know, I have my whole family there, and I see that a lot of people, they're actually going through very unstable situation, especially the freelance artists. So I contact two friends of mine, and I said, let's start to create something online. Let's see where it goes. And we start to have rehearsals 3 times a week, 2 times a week, according to availability. And at some point we set a date and said, let's make a performance. So we had this crazy idea to make an online show. Of course, we don't have the structure like a company, because companies normally they go on stage, they record, and you see live. What we're doing is pretty much we bought a platform called StreamYard, and I am here in Germany directing them. One dancer is in São Paulo, and one dancer is in Rio de Janeiro, and they are dancing together but not together. Right. And I am actually the technician, the choreographer and technician behind. I'm moving the windows, taking off the cameras, putting back the cameras, putting the sound. So yeah, we create a 30 minutes online performance that's called One-on-One. And we're going to premiere tomorrow, the 5th of December at 7:30 in Brazil, 11:30 in Europe.
Okay. Well, I think it's important what you're doing. I think, look, we've discussed this in various moments, right? And I haven't seen you and spoken with you, but of course, I have people that everyone I'm connected with on Facebook and WhatsApp and all of it, right? So when I saw what you were up to, I said, I already know what she's doing fits with what I've been trying to put out through our interview series. So let's see if we could do it. And you said yes. Give us more about your background. Like, how did you get started in dance? Like, give us a little storyline, background, right? So yeah. I know, just so you guys know, before we get started, Christine and I worked together. She was one of the dancers that came to Basel and performed, and that show was put together similar to what you're what you're
1
up to
week.
now, but on a
Yeah.
much, it was more live and people scale, and we had, I think, 10 days to put the show together, right?
Yeah.
And it worked out relatively well, but it was
True.
stressful, and they had so many different personalities, etc. And you
Well,
stayed, you
it's
and your
always
mother stayed.
stressful to
Eh?
it's always stressful to put the show
It
together.
always, yeah. And then I met your mother. Your mother came from Brazil and stayed with us.
True.
So tell us more about how you got started, and yeah, get some background on your
Yeah.
interest and career.
Well, my studies were in Brazil. I got 2 scholarships, actually, one for Switzerland. So I came when I was 16 to study in Switzerland, and one for Teatro Colón in Buenos Aires. But basically, I studied in Brazil, in my city called Caxias do Sul. It's the south of Brazil. Then I moved to Rio de Janeiro. I got into a classical company called Teatro Municipal do Rio de Janeiro. I worked there for 4 years, dancing all the classical repertories like Swan Lake, Giselle, Paquita, working with the names of Makarova, Vasiliev, all the really real classical people. And then I decided to go more contemporary. So I went to another company in the north of Brazil, Bahia, Teatro Castro Alves in Salvador. And after that, I moved to Germany. I started working in Augsburg for 3 years. That's basically when I mixed the classical and the contemporary, because it was a company that wanted to use the classical technique, but more in a contemporary way. And we had many different types of choreographers coming every year. After that, I went to Grand Théâtre Genève and freelancing for 6 years. That's when I met you, and
Yeah.
we did this show together. And in the 6 years, let's say, I start to work also as assistant, a choreographic
That's
assistant,
right.
and slowly I start to develop my choreographic side, my choreographic language. And I decided to go back to a company. So I was in from 2017 till 2019. I went back to Augsburg in Germany, but with another choreographer. But I just felt that I didn't really adapt anymore. Like, I love to dance, and I'm still dancing, but it's different when you dance in projects with people that want to work with you, and when you dance in companies. So I like the change. So I decided to go back freelancing. And part of why I decided to go back freelancing is also to try to choreograph more, actually, to give a different path to my career right now, because I turned 41, and even though I still dance and I'm still fit, we start looking other directions too. And I love to choreograph. I love to also bring new steps, new ideas into different bodies. So yeah, so pretty much that. It's actually a long career,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah,
for
yeah,
a
yeah. Okay.
dancer. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. And well, as you were talking, I was thinking, and so when did we work together? How many years ago was that? That was 2000, either
I
12, 13, something like that.
I think around 2000, yeah, I would say 14,
14.
15. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Whoa. Wow. Well, one of the things, as I recall, we were doing the show, we mixed people who were professional, like yourself. At that time, I was trying to establish myself as a choreographer. And, as I look back on it, I think the only thing that stopped me was probably was myself. It wasn't anything else. It was a fear of what people are going to say and all of the dumb things that come to your mind. If you're an artist, you're really not supposed to be in that space where you're like, oh, what are they going to say? You worry about it because you want
Yeah.
people to come. But
Yeah, but I think every artist, we go through that path, you know.
yeah, yeah, you feel
Yeah.
that as well at times. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel that,
yeah.
and I see choreographers that I work with, they
Hmm.
also feel that in different levels, maybe not so much of what they're going to say, but am I doing something relevant? Am I, you know,
Yeah.
like those questions are normal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Well, yes.
no, I just want to say that it surprised me because I always thought you were so uh focused, you know, that I
Well,
never I expect you to keep on going on choreographing.
well, this is the thing. Well, we get into it, but the administrative and the money part, my
Yeah,
vision was bigger than my resources. And I
that's
had
always the
already
problem.
locked myself in some way, not 100%, but I had made certain life choices that put me, that sort of, that bounded me from moving quicker. So I literally broke up with my then partner. I made a series of changes to get this freedom that was needed in order to continue in anything that you want to do. If you have someone who doesn't share the same vision that you do, it's a difficult, so I think when
Yeah.
we were working in the projects, when I'm in working, I think I was very focused on making sure that people showed up to the show and that you guys were good. And what I was going to say before we started going down this path is what you brought to the table as a professional, and I don't think people see this a lot, and it was very clear for me, because we had professional people and people that really wanted to be dancers, and then approached me, and I said, okay, we're going to somehow bring these two groups together. There was a certain moment where during the production, the actual putting together the show, the music switched, or the dance pieces switched.
Ah,
The people that were the lighter, that were running the board, if you want to call it,
I almost
switched the
forgot. Yeah.
dance. You remember?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you immediately knew what was going on, and you sprung into action. I think another person that was there, who was a professional, did as well. And the
Uh-huh.
people that were not as professional, they were looking with, like, in awe. They were looking at you like, what are you guys doing? Like, but at the same time, they knew that you guys were springing into action, you see. And
uh,
that moment I will never forget, because I mean, this is life, right? Right.
true.
You
Yeah.
have to be ready to improvise, to change. And I
Yeah.
think I got a kick out of that. That part made everything that we were going through worth it, because
Yeah.
everybody knew that it was a big mistake, right? And it was out of our hands, as you remember,
Yeah, it's just you have to kind of be in this idle state, you know, that you
Uh,
are at the same time that you're relaxed, you're aware. So when you see that something happened, you have to snap and, you know, fix it. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, and
that was I didn't even think that it, for me, was so automatic. Okay, my music, it's wrong, but I go.
and it was like boom, and no one stopped you, and I knew exactly what's happening, and I think this is a moment they need to see. This is the moment they need to see, because if they are interested in being dancers, this is a dancer moment. This is a
Yeah.
dance production moment, and it really means that you're trained. You're trained. We are trained to be to operate like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, to operate
True.
this. So let's go back to early on Brazil. Early on in Brazil, what influenced you? Or can you explain to the layman? Can you explain to someone who's not familiar with dance, what was it about dance that really made you think, okay, this is something that I want to do long term? This is something.
You know, actually, that's a very funny story because I'm not sure I can actually answer this question, because what happened to me was pretty much that when I was 6 years old, someone came to my school, normal school, and said, look, we're going to open a ballet class. Somebody's interested. And if you are, just take this paper to your parent, you know, with the information. And I was like, ballet, whatever. I'm never going to do that. And then after 1 month, I don't know why, I had no friends doing ballet. One day I woke up and I said to my mom, I want to do ballet. And then she was like, what? And well, they put me in the ballet in my normal school, and I love it. I was so focused, I was so disciplined. I was going every day, and after that, my mom saw that I like it. She put me in a normal ballet school, and but it was not a place that I could evolve. And she saw that I was serious about. Then she put me in a Rio, like the best one we had at the time, you know. And it was something that it was. One day I woke up and I wanted, and it just felt like I remember what it was from some past life. I have no explanation. It's funny, you know.
Yeah, I
If
understand.
there is a past life, I just remember that I was, and I decided when I was 6 years old, one day I decided I want to be a dancer, because I just felt at home. It just felt that it was, I don't know, it was me. Yeah. It was when I could really express myself, you know.
And when you talk about a past life, as I reflect, I don't know if I can connect with that concept. Not that I don't believe it, because I do believe it, right? But I think it was more like my soul, something in my soul
Yeah,
was,
that's what I mean, actually.
yeah, something
Yeah.
in my soul, and still, and before Christine and I started talking and recording this, I was telling her a little bit about my job. I won't go into detail about what I'm doing now, but I think I have moments where I sneak dance into my daily job, without really, like, as I'm sitting here talking to you, I now realize it's not quite like the moment that we had where you sprung into action and I was like, wow, look at that. And I'm like, wait a minute, Dave, you got to keep going, but it's more like, how can I, when I am at work doing a 9-to-5 job and I'm at a desk and there's people, how can I make this more artistic? You understand what I mean? I don't think like, going to work, oh, this is going to be a very artistic day for me. It's not in the front of my mind, but I start to see how I move through the world or move through the office in the same way that we would, choreograph or dance. And I'm hoping that I think somebody else can see it. There are other people that can see it that haven't commented, but I think this is how I do it.
No, I can totally relate to that, because look, my mom, she works in a bank. And for me, she's such an artistic person too, even though she can't dance, she can't sing, she can't do anything, like, but when I see her doing her job, for me, it's art, So to be artistic, you don't really necessarily to be a dancer. You
No,
don't really need to be, but if you are, like you're saying, like you are,
yeah.
definitely it makes things more, I don't know, connected somehow.
You're connected. I'm trying to reach levels of connection that only exist, not only in the realm dance world or the artistic world, but it's more common, it's more common, this connect. So let's go back. When you were talking about, okay, so you're there in Brazil, you took the class, you knew you wanted to do it, you told your mother, so then you start training and it's more serious. You started getting auditions to more serious. You had to go to an audition to for the first
No,
big
actually,
company?
no.
No?
Well, you mean schools?
Not necessarily school, but like maybe as you became, let's say, what, 14, 15, 16, and you were going to like the north and this sort of thing.
Well, actually, I when I moved schools, I won scholarships because sometimes you can audition. For me,
Right.
it happens because I got a scholarship. But for companies, yes, definitely I had to audition. You have to go, and the ballet company, for example, it's a state job, and everything that it's related to government in Brazil, it's very complicated. So it was this week audition that you would go and then do the audition. Then the end of the day, they tell you if you stay or if you come back the next day. And, you know, it was stressful. Then the second audition was smoother, but still I had to do twice, once for the director, once for the government. It's some funny things that happen in Brazil, depending if you have a state company or a private company. Everything has to be allowed by the government. Yeah. And yeah, and in Europe, I definitely auditioned everywhere, everywhere. But it took me a while to get a job here. Actually, I got one job once, but I said no because I was so attached to my country, to my family, that it took me a while to realize that I could live here by myself, you know. So I moved to Europe when I was 28, a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
older.
Sure.
Yes. But it's also not a problem because age is relative, you know, depends on the person, and the career also sometimes it starts late. Or in my case, let's say I was in the middle of my career, I came here. What was great because I had maturity and I had the technique, and you know, you go more focused to where you want to go. So yeah, pretty much I audition a lot everywhere. It's always stressful. It's always you never know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
But it is the process that we have to go through. And right now, actually, it's change for me. It changes as a freelancer. You need a network. So when you audition, sometimes the person needs to get to know you better. So it's a different process right now, also, especially as choreographer, even more different.
Yeah.
It's
So if you could explain, as a choreographer, where were the opportunities for you coming from in Europe? I think it's really curious. You know, maybe, and I didn't give myself a chance. I saw myself, okay, I'm in the US. I somehow made it to Switzerland, and I still saw this sort of working as 9 to 5. What I tried to do was integrate, and I was trying to get sponsorship, as I think you remember, and I was trying to get the people in my company to see, you know, what we were up to. And we had lots of, let's say, diversity and inclusion initiatives where they would bring me in and say, can you do a flash mob? Can you do this? Can you do that? So that's the way I worked, but it was not as if anybody in the company could really understand what I was trying to do. Yeah, so I assume, and I may be incorrect about this, that as you're moving through Europe and you're saying, okay, I'm a choreographer, trying to connect with people to sort of say, okay, this is who I am, this is what I do. Would you hire me? Or I still see it as a challenge in a similar way, not exactly the same, but in a similar way, because the culture in which you're coming from and what you're trying to create and present may not exist. The language that you're doing through dance may not exist. So you present and say, okay, this is what, you know, this is how I do it. What is your experience here in Europe, and how has it been for you?
It is hard. Yes, it is a bit like you say, you know, that we have to many times do by ourselves, self-sponsor, you know, self-produce, in order to get a chance that somebody, I don't know, somebody guides you or gives you sponsorship, or, you know, it is hard. But for example, what happened to me is that I did a lot of this kind of work, small work, either for me or for friends, or in festivals
Mm,
that sometimes they don't pay much, but at least you get to build material.
mm,
And in the company that I was in Augsburg, we had this young choreographers evening, so I could create pieces there. But it was great because what do you need is material. You cannot sell yourself if you don't have anything to show, or if you only have things to show that you are dancing. You know, you
mm,
need other people to dance, especially because it's very hard to choreograph for yourself. You need, like, you need an eye
yes,
outside eye. It's impossible, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And I don't know, I see another body, a different person, I get ideas. I see myself, I constantly um, question if it's the right decision, then I come back and I change. So I keep on changing. Sometimes I don't go
mm,
ahead. It takes much longer to create for myself than to create for other people.
mm,
And what happened right now, for example, I'm in Tria and I'm choreographing. I don't know when it's going to be the premiere because of this second lockdown. Hopefully around March, April, if
mm,
Germany opens up.
yeah,
But what happened here is that the choreographer knew me, the director knew me, and he saw me as a dancer many times. And one time he came to see a performance in Augsburg and said, I came to see you dancing. And I said, look, I'm not dancing here
mm,
anymore.
mm,
And then we talk. And then at some point he saw my work on Facebook because I create a website,
right,
and he saw my work and he called me and he said, since you don't call me, I'm calling you. I want you
mm,
to choreograph for the company.
right,
But I was really lucky that that happened because it was someone that liked my work,
mm,
that saw my work since 2007 as a dancer,
mm,
and he got curious, what is she creating? And then he called me, you know.
mm,
Or some, yeah, pretty much like that. So you have to keep on knocking on the door and writing emails and sending video clips
yeah,
and writing letters. It is like a, a work mouth to mouth. It
yeah,
takes
yeah,
a
yeah,
long
yeah.
time.
But
Yeah.
I do think this, right? And I make this other analogy, and I didn't see it. How can I say this? When I was growing up, I was one of few people that knew how to do what I could do. So the idea was, okay, I'm now in Europe. I'm sure there may be some other people that know what I know, right? I didn't see that opportunity in the US, maybe because I was not looking, right? I wasn't looking. So when I met you, I knew that you had a certain sensibility, and then I could also see how your technique and how you know, moved your body. And I knew right then, I said, okay, she knows what I know. She knows what I know, right? And maybe the truth, it's not, how can I say it? It may not be like that dancers know that I know. Yeah, because I'm not in the studio all the time doing the kind of work that you guys are doing 8 hours a day, right? That's clear. But yeah, I could, in other words, I could sense from your movement the level in which you were operating. And I could, how can I say it? I could visualize how far you could go just based on one little movement.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's part of kind of what I was able to do, because I auditioned like through what very clip, I would get clips of you too, and I would get
Yeah.
clips of other people, and I say, okay, this person, this person, this person, I think we can, you know, move it and we can get something together in 10 days. Right. That's how I was thinking. So
Uh-huh.
I could see how the director would be interested and say, all right, you know, I'm going to come to see you, because there's a quality of people's movement that once you see it, you're like, okay, you know, you say, okay, this person, right? This
Uh-huh.
person, right? And look, I've done the same thing, you know, that the director has done. I mean, I did it with you, I did it with Erica. I've done it with other choreographers, someone that we know in common, Janya Batista. I did not, she's a former Béjart dancer who has a school in Lausanne. And I remember going in the studio and seeing your picture there and saying, oh, yeah, I worked with her, you know. And the story was, and I fell ill, I think 2017, but I think I was actually ill and I didn't know I was earlier on. So I went to see Janya because Erica, a colleague of ours both that we worked with, was working with Janya. And I could look at what Erica was doing with Janya, and I knew instantly I need to at least go see what Janya's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't, you know, I'm not a classical person, but when she showed me her contemporary, that's when I was like, you know, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the story of how that worked was, I saw her contemporary piece that was placed on Erica, and I knew that the movement that Janya was doing was very interesting and that I could present it as a presenter. But no one knew that I knew what I knew. Yeah, so I had to literally knock on Janya's door, go, Erica, talk to Janya, no. And then I was trying to get people to fund us at the same time, right? So I think that show happened before you came on board, but it was one movement. The movement was like handwriting. The movement's like thought, right? The movement is the soul taking its shape and form, right? And then people who can see that are sensitive to that, and they don't have to be artists, right? They can be like your mom, people that are not skilled the physical, but they can look and say, And the idea is to get people like yourself out in front of as many people that can see that, and then say, oh, I want to see her, or I should call her up. I continuously do it still, even to this day.
Yeah, I think we should never give up or stop, you know, because I think everything has some difficulty in the path, you know, so we shouldn't just be scared to keep on going, you know. And yeah, like I told you, to become a choreographer or a dancer, for some people it's harder than for others. And you have many possibilities nowadays writing project, like all this sponsorship, like you say. Sometimes it's really hard to knock on the doors, and you have all those things that you can write for the government and ask for money, but sometimes to be approved to that, you basically need to be a writer and not an artist, or you need to pay someone to do it. So it's a little bit complicated, because you don't have when you are in the beginning of this career, you don't have this whole support. Once you are in the middle, you know, after you have a name already, then you have your whole team, someone that is going to write for you, someone that is going to take care of the financial situation, that is going to look for the sponsor. But in the beginning, we do everything by ourselves. And I tell you, right now, I am working like a mad woman. I am like this online show. Of course, we didn't spend so much money on it, but I still want to pay the dancers.
Sure.
And so I am working like crazy, and I'm working on Brazilian time. They are 4 hours behind, you know. So sometimes I go to bed at 4 in the morning, that I have to wake up again early to do work here. But I think everything is worth it if you have a dream, you know. And I have this dream to do, and I'm gonna try until I can't anymore.
Well, with
But
that,
I love so much the profession.
It's clear.
Yeah.
I want to show some of the pictures now. You know, you guys work with me on this, because I've never done this before, sharing a screen, but we're going to do it. We're going to try. So we're going to go to the website so we can see pictures of this. Let's see real quick. Share. Voila. So these are photographs from your website. And what we're going to
Yeah.
do is, and hopefully we can see this when we actually look at the video, when we see it is, we'll see it like we see it now, right? With the pictures really big and clear like this. So if you can you take us through each of the pictures, like starting with the one on the left and what we do?
The one on the left, this,
Yeah,
okay.
this one here.
This one is it's the choreography is from Caetano Soto, and I danced in Augsburg a year and a half ago. And the dancer is Marcos Novaes. Now he's in Wiesbaden, Staatstheater Wiesbaden. And this choreography actually is pretty special because it's called Beginning After. And it was when Caetano Soto, he got very ill at some point, and he went to Canada to create a piece. And when he got there, he didn't feel good, he felt ill, and he went to the hospital, and the doctor said, you almost died. Like, you have to stay in the hospital for, I don't know, for a month or something. And you cannot move right now. I'm not sure what he had, but it was something really serious, you know. And he was he didn't know if he was going to get through this, and he had to do this creation, and he knew pretty well the company in Canada, so he would send tasks from his assistant. They would create, and they made a whole thing that they would take Caetano 1 hour a day with the ambulance to the studio. He would watch, like laying in his bed, he would watch the rehearsal and go back to the hospital. It was crazy, you know, but for him was very special because he didn't know if he was going to get through the sickness. And at the same time, he felt that he had to do this piece. So it's a very special piece. Yeah.
Yeah. It's again, it showcases your ability to hit the lines and the form, and it's a really strong picture.
Yeah, it's a nice picture. Yeah,
it's a very nice picture. All right, let's go to the next. This, can you tell us where this is?
That was in Augsburg, but long time ago. I cannot recall the year. And this piece is from Stephen Shropshire, actually a choreographer that I still work now.
Where is he based? Where's he based?
He's based in Holland, Maastricht. Yeah, and he's American actually. He was a Juilliard from Miami. But he did Juilliard, and then he came and he danced with Itzy Galili. And I met Steven as assistant of Itzy Galili. Then he started to choreograph. So this was the beginning of his career as choreographer. Right now, he's a pretty different choreographer, and we still work together, actually. I'm becoming slowly his assistant also.
Look. And this one here.
This one is from an Italian choreographer, Mauro Bigonzetti.
Yeah, yes.
Actually,
very famous.
Yeah.
I know that. I know. I don't know him personally, but of course I know his dad.
That's one of the first pieces that he did in Balletto. It's called Canzone.
Wow.
And this dancer,
Yes.
dancer actually, we still work together from time to time. But now he has a school and he only dances sometimes. Yeah.
Balletto is one of I've seen them perform a couple of times, and very much a very distinct style. Very, yeah. It's why I think he was able to break out. He choreographed also for Alvin Ailey at some point.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. But that was what was interesting. Real quick before we go to the, you know, how we say you look at the people's movements and you can see like kind of how far they go. And look, people might think that I am that this is incorrect, but I'm going to say it. When you have a certain ethnic background, sometimes the ethnic background will bleed through your dancing. or your conversation, your speech, and everything that you do, right? So when he choreographed for Ailey, it was clear that Ailey has a language, right? And he had a language, right? So it was very difficult to do, in my eyes, to see the translation through Ailey. They still did the piece, right? They still, it was wonderful, but it's very different from when he choreographs on European or Italian or whomever dancers versus African-American, Black, you know, from one of the most prestigious companies that has technique that is drilled into them. And then all of a sudden they have to do his movement, you know? So it's like speaking a language. Or when I'm working with flamenco now for like, I think 5 to 6 years now, I still don't feel like I'm doing it like they are doing it because I don't know Spanish well enough to translate the language, right, into how it moved into the body.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's just like with samba also, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you take even me as a Brazilian, I'm from the South. You can see the difference of someone from Rio de Janeiro doing samba and me, you know, because I don't come from the place where the samba was born. So it's like you say, it's almost like you were born with all this reality around you, so it gets in your skin.
It gets into your skin. I'll give you one other example. It was funny. I was in flamenco course or in the class, and I did something like where you had to do this and go like this, right? But it's in the way whatever she taught me. So I think I'm doing it like her. I go, well, bad, you know. And then and she goes, I like the way you did that. I think I'm going to steal that or so. I'm going to take that. I'm like, I think I thought I did it like you. Like, so I'm thinking I'm trying to imitate her. Yeah. But she saw the difference between that, I guess, and what she did. And I just thought it was funny. It's like, I'm trying to imitate you, you know, like I don't know the dance. You know the dance better than me. Anyway, let's go.
But you remember when we worked together, they actually you took us to a workshop with this African woman.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so amazing. And I felt exactly that way that you were saying, you know, like there was this woman with this rhythm and me, small Brazilian, super white, trying. And actually she loved me because she saw that I was really trying, and she went and she tried to teach me and tell me, now do this step singing happy birthday so you get the rhythm. It was I will never forget this experience, and thank you for that. It was amazing.
Look, someone brought me in after seeing a show, one of the shows. She said, I want to introduce you to it was I should know her name. Oh God, it'll come to me in a bit. But at that point, I saw that our group was breaking down in some ways. That I think people's everybody has their own personal story. And when you're working, as you know, as a group, you have to put your own personal story aside for the success of the group or the success of the show.
Yeah.
And I felt like we were breaking down, and I said, hey, you know what? If the Queen of the Sabbath, if I take everybody to see her, she will at least, because the level of commitment just to be in the class goes up, 10 notches.
Yeah.
It was very serious. She was very serious. And, I'm not saying that I wasn't serious, but I had not committed my entire life to dance like she had. You know what I mean? I saw myself more as a producer, like, I'm talking to the people selling tickets. I still want to choreograph, but I could do the promotion all as a standalone and still be happy. Where she was like, even the very beginning, you're like, oh shit, like you know when she started, and she goes, I want you to go boom, and you guys were looking like, oh. And she has authority. She has,
totally.
She had authority in that, and that's her realm. So I thought it was important that you see a different style of someone that was even more accomplished than I was, more so in dance in her way. And I think it worked, right? It did bring a different energy.
Yeah.
So when we did the
It was
show,
very special.
it was very special. Let's go. Let me see this next one. We were just sidetracking, get back on track. So this is called Three Voices, or this pictures from Three Voices. What's happening in this picture? Can you?
This picture is a festival in Brazil called Cello Dance, and it's a very nice festival that she brings cello players, play actually all kinds of musicians, but specifically cello players from all the world to Brazil, and she invites dancers mainly from Brazil because it's a, like we were talking before, it's a festival that she never gets so much money to do it. So she tries to do the way she can. And the cello festival existed for much longer than the dance cello. So this piece is a creation from me and from Josh Johnson, also an American dancer that was at Foresight company at the moment, at the time, actually. I don't know where he is right now. So we did our version of Bach, and we call Three Voices because we say that it's like three people talking. The musician was on stage, and it was our interaction, how to perform and interact between the three of us. And also this music specifically goes from many emotions, many state of emotions, and from happiness, sadness. So we had a set of 50 t-shirts, and we dressed those t-shirts in different ways in a very abstract way, to translate different states of emotions. And we start in this funny way that people call like a pregnant woman, because I was on top of him and we had a blanket looking like a big dress.
Sure, I
Yeah.
can see now.
So he wouldn't see, so he would do the legs and I would do the arms. And because I had his head, it looked like I had a belly, so it's called the pregnant woman. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was very nice, actually.
Look, I understand what you're up to. This one, explain here what is happening and how this came. So it's looks more like an art exhibition or
yes and no, because Less Perfection, More Beauty, it's a project from a hip hop dancer that I met in Goethes, a small city in Austria. He's young, very talented. He won basically all the prizes, all the festivals from hip hop, street dance when he was much younger. He's still young right now. And we met because I was teaching in the same school that he was teaching. And we end up doing one project together because that's a crazy story. One day I decided to dance on the snow and he recorded for me. And then he had this project because he also does this graffiti, and he got some funding to do an exposition because he paints, and he calls me to do a performance in the museum. So his exposition is called Less Perfection, More Beauty, and I am dancing. And he did also my costume. He did the graffiti in my costume, and we made a video clip also with this in this exposition. So it's a mixture of it's let's say many arts together. We also had someone singing his songs. So it was a bunch of artists that created, and he brought us together to collaborate in his art exposition.
I think there's another picture there.
Yeah, that's the same. That's from the video clip that we did.
And then this one. Eyes,
This
keep an eye on.
keep an eye on. Yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
one is a piece from a friend of mine, the one that was in the first picture with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I dance this piece all the time with the eyes closed
Ah,
because
okay.
it's, yeah, for him
Yeah.
it's like a dream, you know. It like those two boys,
Mm-hmm.
they are my conscious, you know, my good side and my bad side. So it's almost like I all the time I have the eyes closed like in a
Mm-hmm.
dream, and I have my bad side telling me what to do, my good side telling me something else, and they guide me through this piece. And it was very scary in the moment because they throw me, they lift me, they drag me, and I'm not allowed to open my eyes, and I really didn't. And
Yeah, yeah,
but it was very special piece too.
yeah. And what else? We have a few more. Let's go through this one. This is just it seems like to be a dance photo.
It's just a photo shoot, yeah.
Also, yeah,
Mhm.
photo shoot. And there, look at her, look at her form, look everybody, look. Now this is the kind of picture that inspires me to continue. So in my spare time, which is very little, right? I'm looking at people's pictures. I'm looking at people's, you know, Facebook. You know, I'm doing everything. I'm sort of like producing, you know, when I'm on the train station and then when I come back, right?
Mhm.
And how can I put this? When I was sick, this was like 2017. I literally, my body, I realized I think my body was not in the best shape and my mind was not in the best shape either. And then I said, okay, I'm going to use dance movement to heal myself.
Mhm.
But I would look at dancers' bodies, you know, and I think what I was doing was trying to, how do you say? I had visualization. So at the moment,
Mhm.
I'm not where I was. I still have to, you know, a lot of work to do, but I'm much closer to where I used to be than I was a couple of years ago. So photos like these are the kind that you put on the wall and you go, oh. I started to buy the calendars from what's the dance company called Stuttgart Ballet.
Stuttgart.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I started putting things on the wall as reminders
Uh-huh.
of what I could, even you know, I'm 53 now, right? Um, I still think that you know, in your 50s, but you have to devote a hell of a lot of time, right, to keep this
Uh-huh.
in your body. But as you say, I'm not going to give up. I'm still, you know, I still go. I
Look, I know. Do you know this company in Belgium, Pippington?
no,
They uh they have sometimes, depending the project that they are doing,
yeah,
they hire dancers that are 60,
yeah,
70.
sure,
There
sure,
was
sure.
one dancer that then start to dance at 80.
Mm-hmm.
I think dance is so, we have space for everyone, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I believe so too.
And I
I
think it's
honestly,
not
yeah.
only dance art, you know?
Sure,
Dance is,
sure. Yeah,
can
you're
be
right.
bigger than dance, yeah?
You're right. It's
Hmm.
much bigger. There was a woman, and I, of course, I don't. What's great about you? You're remembering dancers' names. Your dance, you know, like you are really, you know, this picture. This is so and so, and then there was a woman that did a performance in a small festival, the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh. She's a much older woman. She came. She was one of the best. Everybody was mostly solo work. Her work was the
Hmm.
best solo work I had seen in a while. And I think she was probably 65, right?
Hmm.
So from a presenter's point of view, and you know, in my mind, I could even expand like lighting wise. I said, okay, if she does it and I somehow bring her in, then I can do that. Like in my mind, I start to play the whole thing out. She's 65, you know, and I
Uh-huh.
think that you're right. She was probably one of the best people in the show.
Yeah.
Um, she's the one I remember the most. And it was very, it wasn't loud or in your face, or, you know what I mean? It wasn't, yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah. What else is happening? So like, let's go to the show. Like, tell me more about the show so you can set it up, and you tell everybody the dates, you tell everybody what, you know, how they can watch, everything like this.
Well, because we're doing the Brazilian time,
Mm-hmm.
7:30
Yeah.
tomorrow in the afternoon means 11:30 for us. The link of the video is still gonna be on for more or less 24 hours, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's taken off. But we're gonna perform again later on, maybe 20th of December, but much earlier, so we can have the European audience, let's say.
Yeah.
And we are selling tickets in a platform called Simpla, and it's very, let's say, popular prices, because since the situation in Brazil is not so great, I thought of putting almost like a conscious collaboration, let's call.
Mm-hmm.
So people can decide to pay between 10 reais till 45, and 10 reais for us would mean less than 2 euros,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and 45 less than 10 reais. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought it can be available for everyone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And why I'm doing that, because I could totally do for free, but like I said, I think first of all it's our work, you know. Sometimes we forget, we always think, art we have to give away, and I think yes, but at the same time it's our work, you know. Like if you don't get sponsor, it's a bit hard. And I really want to pay the dancers, because I think it was time that they gave me, it was work, and they are freelancers, you
Yeah,
know,
of
they need
course,
to get
of
paid.
course, of
Yeah,
course.
I need to value their work. I think
Yeah.
it's very important, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, if I don't manage to sell as much as I want, I will sponsor myself the show, but I will still do it. But I'm very excited because it's not long, it's 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have actually some funny situations happening, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of changing of cameras, and it's a very light performance, let's say. And it talks a little bit about this crazy lockdown moment that we went through, isolation, trying to connect to people, trying to be the same one, you know, like we are in one screen, but we are not together, but like it's almost like, where are you? You know, we want to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes through this crazy moment where you don't know, you are so alone that suddenly people start to talk to the sofa, talking to
Mm-hmm.
the food, you know. So we have a journey that they go through, and they try to meet each other
Yeah.
even though they are really far away. But meeting, I would say, it's not a physical meeting, even
Mm-hmm.
though it starts like this, but it's a mind, a thought meeting, you know.
Yeah.
Same
I
conscious,
understand.
I would say.
I
Yeah.
understand. Well, I'm going to ask you a series of questions very quickly, things that I am thinking about. And as we're running short on time, I'm just going to say, okay, what do you think of this? And what do you think of this? Right. So the first thing I want to ask
Okay.
is how has the COVID affected, you know, you? And obviously you're doing the show, but maybe the good side, the bad side of the COVID and lockdown.
Bedside, I got a lot of work uh, canceled. I,
Mm-hmm.
I got stopped in the moment that we had 2 weeks to go on premiere, and we still don't know when we were going to perform this show. So there was all of that. Good side, all this online show would never happen. I start to do some online teaching. There is a good side and a bad side of online teaching. Good side, you, like I was teaching Greece, America, many countries at once, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Bad side, it's much more work, much less money, and when you really want to do well, sometimes we end up getting injured, because we have to show, and we look at the small window, so you put your body in funny situations, you know. And something also really good that happened is that this choreographer, Stephen Shropshire, he create, when they released the lockdown in Maastricht, he created a solo for me, and it was very special. Nobody ever did a performance only for me. So it was only me on stage dancing for 30 minutes, basically dancing with myself, because it was a video of me dancing and I was relating to this video. And it was amazing to listen to the public saying that they were missing beauty, they were missing art.
Yeah,
so
it's important.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, it's important. I think people don't understand how important it is, but that's another topic conversation. We talked, or you talked briefly about collaboration. So how important is collaboration for you?
I think it's everything, you know, because we're not an island, you know. Like even when we create nowadays, nobody, I don't want to say nobody, but it's very rare that you bring the whole, like you come with all the steps and learn and do it, you know. Nowadays a dancer is a collaborator, you know, it's a shared experience. And I think when you collaborate with other artists, that is not just dancers, but let's say visual artists, musicians, it opens up a whole different horizon, I would say, you know. I think it's everything, collaboration. We have to open ourselves.
Your view on women in dance as choreographers. Or is it a subject matter? Is it a subject matter? Because it could be just not a subject matter, but I'm making the leap of not faith, but just sort of the leap, and thinking that there's got to be something specific in terms of gender, would you say?
Yeah, you know, there is a whole conversation about right now. A lot of jobs positions, they say actually we prefer women, you know, because if you look around, there is much more men as directors than women. I cannot tell you why. And also many more male choreographers than female. But the funny thing is that, you know, in Holland, Steven, the choreographer that I work with, he made an installation that was a museum installation for a festival that happened online. And it was about the dance history in Holland. The dance history in Holland, it's full of women choreographers, much more than men, you know. But in other countries it's not. So I think they are trying to get in a balance. It's always like this, you know. And right now is the time of women to come up, and then probably at some point will be some other I don't know. I think it's really relevant right now, and I find great to give more opportunity for women, because I would say in Germany, yes, you have a lot of women choreographing, but I think in the past years, it was more, you would hear more about male choreographers, male directors. It's still the directors, you can count many more male directors than female.
Sure. Yeah. And the last thing I would ask you is diversity, right? So a lot of times during when I'm in the corporations, let's say, when I'm doing to get the 9 to 5, to get the money, so this diversity, it's diversity, right? What are your views on diversity with regard to yourself, to dance? I mean, this is a thing that's interesting to me, and you can talk a bit about this as well. As I think most of the people that I know are from the United States, so they may be watching this video. And you say, okay, I'm Brazilian, and I'm this, I'm that, I'm white, I'm black. There are people that don't understand the diversity that is Brazil. they don't have a concept of, they think maybe one visual of what a Brazilian
Yes.
is. And I've been lucky to meet a variety of different Brazilians from different ethno backgrounds. So
Oh
talk
yeah.
about it personally, talk about it, how it affects your work, and then I think then yeah, I think
Well, Brazilians, it's a melting pot, full of all nationalities. For
mhm,
example, I come from a Italian colonization city.
mhm,
Uh, Part of my family came from Italy, from Germany, and part I don't know from where. And I am sure I have some indigenous blood, African blood. We all have, we have people from everywhere. Even a part of Brazil at some point was from the Dutch, and uh, I grew up with that. So for me, it's something very natural, very
mhm,
normal.
mhm,
So I would say it affects a lot. You know, some people, they choreograph or they work with the types. I don't go so much into that, but like you say, you see each nationality has a different culture, a
mhm,
different way of moving, a different
mhm,
way of understanding. And I think that's actually very important to have this, all these people, so you can have a richer experience actually.
mhm,
I
mhm,
think it's much more interesting when you have different personalities, different cultures, than when you have only one, because then you are a bit limited. For
mhm,
me,
mhm,
it affects a lot. My work, I go more about the personality than actually the type, the body
sure.
type.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think that comes with the, like you say, the diversity.
Yeah, yeah. I'll share this other thought that I just had. And as you know, that we're going through a lot of issues with our election, with COVID in the United States, and I keep
Mm,
on top of it. So I'm watching a video, and there's a controversial video that's out of people actually pulling suitcases out of underneath tables when people are not there, and these suitcases have ballots. So the guy is
mm,
reporting, and he says, and he's a white guy, and this is another white guy that has the show. He goes, and we have the receipts. We have the receipts. Now, when he said it, I started laughing because, and this is just another example, that phrase, I have the receipts, I have the receipt, comes from the experience of, I would say, mostly inner city Black Americans who, when they go into a store, okay,
mm.
and the people are watching, and the storekeeper's watching them, or they go into a department store and they think that that person has stolen the
Mm-hmm.
good,
Yeah.
whatever they have, right? And then you say, I have the receipt. Like there's this
Yeah.
exchange.
Yeah.
I have the receipt, right? That exchange, that moment, which has happened so many times in that world, has now taken on a meaning that is mainstream, where you have a white guy saying to another white guy, I have the receipt, I have the receipt, I have the receipt, because he's trying to convince the people of something that
Mm-hmm.
most people are not thinking is true. And
Yeah.
it's little things like this. It also happens in dance where, again, when I said, okay, I did a movement, like, oh, I'm trying to do her movement. And that movement can come out of one person's or group of people's experience. You're trying to, emulate, but, you may never get it, but it's still symbolic, right? It's still
Yeah.
symbolic. You do that move belongs to, in my opinion, to that group of people,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and you're literally trying to either pay respect to it or you're trying to acknowledge it, you know. So I thought it was funny when he said, "Oh, I got the receipts." It's an acknowledgement of that group of people that
Yes.
experience this type of discrimination in life. And here you guys
Yeah.
have a guy who's trying to convince the world of something that, you know, people don't want to even think about. So I have the receipts, you know, and it's similar.
Yeah.
Dance is something that I think that kind of translation happens every day, all the
Of
time.
course. But like if you take, for example, all this dance hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
like uh, all those break dances,
Yeah,
they came more from the Black community also, no?
yeah, sure.
And then you have the Germans now trying to
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of funny to see because it, like you say, it's not in the culture, so you see
Mm-hmm.
the difference. But it became more available, it became mainstream, like you say, you know.
It becomes, when
Yeah.
something small becomes mainstream. And I
Hmm.
think part of what dancers do, that's not everything that we do a lot, um, is we're trying to communicate those small moments. It doesn't have to be, oh, I have the receipt. You know,
Hmm.
it could be this moment, like, for example, what you're saying about women, right? If there's something that you choreograph that all women can understand, and you put that in your piece, automatically you have a whole group of people that are right there with you, right? And I
Hmm.
think it's a challenge. Also, it's a lot of fun to do this
Yeah.
kind of work.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think also, you know, like uh, all this, it goes also in another conversation, but like your the story that you were saying, and also the women, you know, they all have something similar that uh, like the some some African American trying to say I didn't steal, I have the receipt, and some women maybe uh, be doing what she has to do, but sometimes we are seen as, oh, she's just bossy, she's just
Uh-huh,
and if it
uh-huh.
would be a man, it would be just normal. Oh no, he's just doing his job, you know. So it's a very sensitive subject to talk, and
Yes,
you take hours, you know,
yes,
because
yes.
it goes
It's
in
yes.
many directions. Yeah. And
Well,
yeah, we like
yes.
sometimes I wanted to do, one of the dancers is doing my online performance.
Uh-huh.
He's also African,
Mm-hmm,
Brazilian, you know.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And we start to write a project, and then we decided to talk about walls that they are put in front of you
mm-hmm.
before you are allowed to to see where is your limit, you know.
Yes,
And then
yes.
he told me exactly the story that you were saying, you know, I don't go to a shop with flip-flops because they think I'm gonna steal
Mm,
something.
right.
And then I realize, as a woman, I also have many things that I can say, but sometimes we forget, you know, because we're so used to it. And well, that's a whole conversation. I I think that's why when you told me what do you think about women in positions
Yeah.
to get more positions, I think it's great, because I think we really have
Mm-hmm.
to at some point to talk about, you know, that why we're considered bossy, and if in the end of the day we're just doing our jobs, what, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's very, let's say, it would take us hours to talk
It's
about and would go nowhere.
well, look,
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you any longer. I want to thank you very much for agreeing to do the interview
Oh,
in
thank
such
you.
short notice. Our conversation reminds me or brings me back to when you were here and you actually stayed here and we talked like this then, you know, I think, as I remember.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. Um,
Thank you for also helping me with this line performance to share with people. Thank you so
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is once we close this interview, you send me all of the information. We will operate really quickly to get it up so that you can share the link with as many people as you can.
Thank you. Thank you
Right.
so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Have a great beginning of the weekend. And of
Thank
course,
you,
you
you
have
too.
more to do because you have things
Yes.
happening. So, you
Tomorrow
know,
is the big day.
tomorrow's the big day, right? So we will be in touch and we'll talk soon.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.